Hi everyone and welcome to the Career Chat Show with me, Yanmo. So on today's show, I will talk about or we will chat about friendships and relationships, choosing your friends wisely. Now, choosing your friends is one element, but the wisely is a whole completely different ball game, right? Because as we grow, we should be wiser in terms of how we choose our friends, our friendships, our friends, our relationships. But sometimes we're just so emotional. And because we're so emotional, a lot of relationships and friendships that don't serve us anymore, we just end up being and staying there. And you know deep down that it's no longer serving you. And honestly, I've been there and I've had to audit my relationships time and time and time and time again. In fact, there's something that I call the relationship circle, which is it has three different layers. It has the inner circle, it has the middle court, and it has the outer court. So there's some friends in the outer court that just stay in the outer court, right? There's some friends in the middle court that just stay in the middle court, and there's some friends in your inner circle. And it doesn't mean that people cannot move around from time to time. You just have to know where you need to put these people. And I believe everybody should be able to audit their relationships and their friendships from time to time, especially when it's not serving you anymore. And this is where the wisely comes into play, right? Because you can choose your friends. And I often hear, oh, we've been friends from secondary school and we've been friends for 30 years and 40 years. And that's great. As long as you're both serving yourselves, right? The relationship is symbiotic. It's not parasitic. It's not take. And you're being, they're sucking you dry as a mosquito is sucking somebody. That doesn't work. So when you're choosing your friends wisely, you need wisdom. Hence, it's wisely. You need wisdom. And that also speaks to even your professional friends in the workplace. So there are people that will come around you maybe because they like you or you're doing a really, really great job. But honestly, they're stabbing you in the back. But if you're not wise, if you do not have the spirit of wisdom and the spirit of discernment, you're not even going to know that they're stabbing you in the back. This is why you have to choose your friends wisely. Now, there's a guy called David. David had to choose his own friends very wisely. There was a guy that he was his counselor called Ahithophel, and Ahithophel turned on him and actually went with his son, David's son, Absalom. Now, that really hurt David because oftentimes when you think of people that you have gone through a lot with, when they turn on you, that hurts. However, it's life. People change. Human beings change. You and I change, right? So don't expect that because an Absalom turns on you, you wouldn't also turn on somebody else. But the point I'm making is you have to learn to choose your friends very, very wisely. David had a friend called Jonathan, right? And Jonathan, even though Jonathan was Saul's son and Jonathan really was the heir to the throne, he should have been king, but he loved David so much that he helped, protect David and he did so much for David. Now, there are some friends, that are just there for you regardless. It's not about them, it's about you. And like I said, choosing your friends wisely, the wisely component comes into play. And some of us don't use the wise components, so we choose our friends full stop. But if that relationship isn't serving you at all, then you have to think to yourself, and not necessarily in a bad way where you now say, oh, I'm no longer going to be friends with you. It doesn't have to be that. That's where the wisdom comes in again, right? Can you see how this wisdom is like craft coming into every single element of this? But there are times where you just wouldn't gel anymore. There are times where you don't even feel like speaking to the person anymore. There are times where the person doesn't even call you anymore, right? So there is a natural separation that happens. However, if you are in charge of your career, if you're in charge of your life, you're the one that needs to determine who comes in and who doesn't come in, who stays in the outer court, who stays in the middle court, and who stays in the inner court, right? Jesus had 12 disciples, but he was particularly close to three, Peter, James, and John. He took them to more places than he took the other eight. Is that correct? Yes, the other eight. Math is not my strong point. The other eight. So he was particularly close to Peter, James, and John. He showed them a bit more. He spoke to them a bit more. He poured more into them. But these were the people in his own inner circle. So he chose the 12 disciples. He chose his friends. He chose the people he wanted to be around. So are you choosing or are you allowing it to happen naturally? There are some relationships that just happen naturally and organically, and there's nothing wrong with that. But you also have to audit these people. Are your values similar? Do they have values that you don't have that are complementary? Are they focused on, are they ambitious? Do they have similar things that you also desire for yourself? Are they spiritually on fire? If you're a spiritually on fire person, are they excelling in their careers, or are they just happy where they are? These are the things you have to be very mindful of. Now, everybody would have different ambition. Everybody would be at different places, but nonetheless, you have to choose the people that come into your circle. It's down to you. There's a scripture that says that there is a friend that sticks closer than a brother. So if you don't have that friend, and how do you get that friend? You choose that friend. That friend doesn't just appear. You have to choose that friend. And if you are not intentional about choosing your relationships and your friendships wisely, I can assure you that at some point, right, very similar to what Ahithophel did, he's going to stab you in the back. Listen, even Jesus, he chose Judas, but Judas still betrayed him. So one thing I know from life is that friendships and relationships will betray you. However, if you're choosing wisely, right? If you're choosing wisely, then you reduce the percentage of that happening to you. I'm not saying it wouldn't happen, but you would reduce the percentage of that happening to you. So stay away from people that are backbiting. Stay away from people that don't serve you at your highest level. Stay away from people that are not going to make you be the best version of yourself. And there's a saying where what's the saying now? Yes, times and seasons, right? Or seasons and times. There's some people that will be in your life forever. There's some people that will be in your life for a season, for some seasons, or even for a particular time. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. As long as you know that you have peace in your heart, right? When those relationships end, then that's all that matters. You can cry over them if you want. You can mourn it, you can grieve it, that's fine. But let me tell you something. As long as you're choosing the people in your circle of influence wisely, you should be okay. And there's something about having really good friendships, because no man is an island. You can't do it all by yourself. So it's important to have, friendships that will push you on, stay you on, and also want you to get to your promised land, like Caleb and Joshua. So I hope you have found that very helpful in terms of choosing your relationships, choosing your friends. If you haven't subscribed to this channel, what are you waiting for? Hit the subscribe button and click the bell so you get notified every single time I upload a new show. If you have any comments or you have any ideas on how to choose your friends wisely, leave it in the comments below, and I will see you on the next show. Until next time, God bless you.